All right, so last week we talked about graphing. Remember, we work up until 18. I'll give you guys an equation of a line and you guys had to graph them. Now we're going to go backwards. I'm going to give you guys a graph. My questions, I want to work 19 through 22. I'll give you guys a graph and then you guys give me the equation of the graph. Now, make sure you guys read the instructions, okay? Make sure you guys read them. 19 and 20 says, use the information provided to write the vertex form equation of each parabola. So I'm going to be looking at the vertex form. All right, for the vertex form, I need the vertex. I know when my parabola is open down, like in question number 19, my vertex happens to be the highest point. My vertex right now is the coordinates -4, -2. So I have most of my answer. Don't have it all, I have most of it. Let me write y equals a, because that's the aperture. I expect my aperture to be a negative number, right? So right now, let me write y equals a. The a, like I said, expected to be a negative number. Now, one thing on my answer at the very end, once I finish everything, my aperture, we'll write the number my aperture unless it's a 1. When the aperture is 1, we don't write it. If it's a -1, I just write the sign, right? So, but right now I just want to write a, and I'm going to open parentheses, and I'm going to call this x plus 4 squared. Notice how my x value was a -4 or a -4, and inside the parentheses I wrote x plus 4. So don't forget I had to switch the sign. Square, right? Square the parentheses. And then my y value of my vertex is -2 or -2. So I'm going to write -2 at the end. Let me highlight two numbers. The aperture, I said, we don't write it if it's a 1. If it's a -1, we just write the negative. If it's a number older than 1, we will write it, okay? So the aperture. The -2 at the very, very end, we will write the number unless it's a 0, right? If it's a 0, I'm not going to write -0. It's just I don't write it. So those that I highlighted, sometimes we don't type it in our answer, okay? Now, for me to find the aperture, because I need to find the a value to finish this, let me find a point that is not on the line. I mean, it's a point that is on my graph, but not the vertex. Let me find a random point. Let's take a look at -2, -6. I'm gonna choose this point. I could have chosen -3, -3. I could have chosen -5, -3, or -6, -6, right? Those are points that I could have chosen. I'm gonna choose, like I said, it doesn't matter which one you choose. I'm gonna choose the point -2, -6. That's the one I'm going to choose. All right, so the equation, let me highlight what I mean with equation. I'm gonna use this a lot. I'm gonna use that equation. Instead of x, I'm gonna use -2. Instead of y, I'm gonna write -6. So let me write this as a -6, because that's the y value, equals a. Again, I don't know the aperture. Now my parentheses. Interesting with my parentheses. It says x plus 4. And I'm using -2 for x. I'm using the values from my point that I chose. I'm choosing -2 for x, so x plus 4 should be +2, right? -2 plus 4 should be +2 squared -2. Okay. Now I see an exponent, so let me write this as a -6 is equal to a times 4 minus 2. Let me fix that a because it looks like a 9. Now the 4, because it comes from the exponent, 2 squared. Let me highlight right there, 2 squared, that's where I got the 4 from. Okay, the -2 at the end, the -2, let me move it to the left side as a +2. Don't forget to switch the sign. So I have that -4, right? Because -6 plus 2 is -4 is equal to A times 4. Once I divide both sides by 4, I get that -1 is equal to A. Oh, cool. So my answer, because A is 1, I'm not going to write the 1. I'm just going to include the negative sign. So let me write this. My answer, the way I'm going to type this, I go back into here. I know my A value, so I'm going to replace my A value on that one. So I'm going to write Y equals my A value, my aperture is -1. I don't write the 1, but I do include the negative sign. So negative. Now I see x plus 4 squared. When you guys type this, you guys will go x plus 4 twice. That's how much we're going to write this square. X plus 4 twice minus 2. Notice how my aperture, I don't write the number 1. I just include the negative sign. And also notice that my parentheses, I wrote it twice. All right, let's take a look at another example. Let's take a look at number 20. I need to know the vertex. The vertex in this case is the point -6, -6. So I know part of my answer. I know most of it actually. Most of my answer will be y equals a, the aperture. The aperture in this case I expect it to be a positive number because my graph is open up. So a, I'm going to open parentheses, x plus 6 square. All right, don't forget to switch the sign on the x value. And at the very end, my y value, which is -6. I really just need to find out the a value, the aperture, then I'm done. Okay, so for this, let me choose a point on my graph. Let me choose the point -4, -5. I'm even going to write the values here. I'm going to choose the point -4, -5. I'm going to use what I know for the equation. And when I say what I know is this equation, I'm just going to replace x with a -4, and I'm going to replace y with a -5. This is how I'm going to solve for my aperture, the a value. So let me write this as -5, because that's the y value, equals a. I don't know the aperture. Now my parentheses, x plus 6. I know the x value is -4. So -4 plus 6 is 2 squared minus 6. Work the exponent. So I'm going to have -6 is equal to a times 4 minus 6. The -6 at the far end, let me bring it to the left. That's a +6. Don't forget to switch the sign. So I get that 1 is equal to a times 4. Once I divide both sides by 4, I get that 1/4, it's the aperture. I expected it to be a positive value, so it makes sense. And it's fine for the aperture to be a fraction, not a big deal. Okay, now I'm ready to write my answer here. I'm going to write this as y equals, let me fix this right here. So I'm going to write this as y equals, I know the aperture is 1/4. The way I write fourth for the answer, I go 1 \4. So there's the 1/4. And then I have to write the parentheses x plus 6 twice. So x plus 6 twice. My parentheses, right? X plus 6 squared. So I write it twice. Then minus 6. So when I say I want this in vertex form, that's what I'm expecting. Now, if you guys were writing this, if writing will be much easier, right? It would be y is equal to 1/4 x plus 6 squared minus 6. Right, that's how it will be when we're writing it. But notice how the 1/4, I wrote the 1/4, and then the exponent, right, the parentheses, I typed it twice. So let me emphasize, this is the vertex form. You guys, on your homework, you're going to have, some of them are going to ask you for the vertex form. Now, let me flip the page. Let me take a look at number 21 and 22. Now here, my instructions, so always read the instructions. It says, use the information provided to write the intercept form equation of each parabola. So I'm not asking for the vertex form. I'm asking for the intercept form. For the intercept form, I'm going to be crossing my axis twice, my x-axis. I'm crossing the x-axis at -3, and I'm crossing in the x-axis at 0. So I know most of my answer. For intercept form, we saw those last week. It goes in the form y equals a, the aperture, right? The aperture in this case is a positive number because it's open up. Now a, but now for intercept form, I'm going to have two parentheses. One of them, for right now, let me write x plus 3. Notice how the x value was a -3. Don't forget I switched the sign. And then the other value is 0. Let me write, for right now, let me write x minus 0 for now, okay? Now, I'm almost there. Like, my answer will have those two parentheses. I just need to know what the aperture is. Let me find a point. Let me use a random point for my graph. In my case, let me choose the point 1, 4. My x value is 1. My y value is 4. So I'm going to write this as 4 is equal to a times 4 times 1. Now for my parentheses, notice that I was using x equals 1. I was using 1 for x, so 1 plus 3 gave me 4. 1 minus 0 gave me 1. So I have that 4 is equal to a times 4. I multiply my two parentheses. 4 times 1 is 4. To get the a by itself, let me divide by 4, which is the number inside the parentheses, because that way they cancel out. I get the a by itself. 1 is equal to a. Okay. My aperture, I'm not going to write my aperture because it's a 1. If it was a -1, at least a negative sign, but 1 I don't write. So my answer will be y equals, my aperture I don't write. My first parentheses, let me call this x plus 3. Now the second parentheses, let me just simplify it as just x, right? X minus 0 is just x. Now those two parentheses, which one comes first? It doesn't matter. So one of you guys, in your answer, you guys type in y equals x and x plus 3. You guys switch the order. You're fine. All right, the order of the parentheses doesn't matter. All right, let's take a look at number 22 now. My intercepts, where do I cross the x-axis? I'm crossing at a -1 and +2. So I know most of my answer. For right now, let me just write this as y equals a, the aperture. I expect it to be a positive number because it's opening up, but my parentheses are going to be x plus 1, right? Because I crossed it a -1, so I switched the sign, and then x minus 2. Don't forget that I switched the signs. Okay, now let me use a point that is on the graph, not my intercept, but a different point. I'm gonna choose this point. You guys can see it right there. The coordinates of that point are 1, -4. So I'm even gonna write it here. X, I'm gonna use 1 for x, and I'm gonna use -4 for y. So I'm gonna write this as a -4 is equal to A. I don't know my aperture. My parentheses are gonna be 2 and -1. Right, I'm using 1 for x. So x plus 1 gives me 2. X minus 2 gives me -1. Remember, I use 1 for x. So I have that -4 is equal to A times a -2. I multiply my two parentheses at the end. To get the A by itself, let me divide by -2. That's when I keep my A by itself. I know negative divided by negative is positive. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So my aperture is 2. So my answer, I'm going to write y equals 2. The aperture in this case, I do have to write it. X plus 1, x minus 2. And again, the order of the parentheses doesn't matter. Which one you write first, it doesn't matter. So let me zoom out. We keep in mind some of your answers, some of your questions are asking for vertex form, and some others are asking for intercept form.